So the last item for the project is adding dimensions. So let's now go back to our outside walls. I'm only going to draw outside walls, so dimension instruction is a little bit more clear. No construction lines, I just from memory draw this building. You have light construction lines. There are 3 components to a dimension. There is a line on which we place dimension. It's offset certain distance, and it's about 12 millimeters, 10 millimeters away from the last object line. So you have some construction lines. Some of them you can use to set your dimensions. But most of the time, you will be taking your T-square and maybe at the beginning measure 10 millimeters. That's that 1 M bar on your 1 to 100 scale in 1 to 1. But most of the time, you will have like 3 millimeters that in your head, that it's about 10 millimeters we offset. So you don't want your dimension too close to the last object line. And if you have another dimension line, then you would put it another 10 millimeters apart. Okay? Eyeballing. You will have these construction lines, hopefully. If you have them, you can now use them. If you don't have them, you have to add them. There are 3 ways of doing dimensions. You can do I-log ticks, which are small lines done not by hand, but using our 45 set square. Tiny little 45 darker medium weight ticks. You can use dots, except for Mohawk College. Until very last assignment, we want you to practice the most difficult way of dimensioning, because you got to know it, especially engineers like arrows. And mechanical people, they don't use any other but arrows. So we're going to do arrows. And the way I will teach you how to do arrow, that's just my experience. I place my hand in freehand. You're so good with freehand now. From this dot, I go about how long? 3 millimeters. Then down and up. And sometimes it is so narrow I don't have to fill it in. Sometimes I have to go back and fill it in. Let's draw it bigger. Let's draw our arrow bigger. These are the components of the, we call them extension lines. We need an arrow that will start from this point. So the best thing to do is medium weight, start from this point, go up very little as you possibly can to make an arrow. Come down and finish. Okay, guys, have you seen from this side? We're going to start from the point, go up very little, down very little, and close. The more narrow, the better. Because this is what you are going to give me. There is a guy in Hamilton that teaches in high school, and he told students to do this. I think he's retired because I haven't seen it in a couple of years. Please, if you had that instructor, trust me, he has not taught you drafting. But hopefully he's now collecting pension somewhere. Did lots of damage to my students. Idiotic way of doing dimensions. The dimensions that I'm showing you are the same that AutoCAD uses. If you look at any dimensions in textbooks, the arrows look like I'm trying to teach you. Okay? You are going to give me triangles. You're going to have them open. You're going to have them black, and the black are going to be the worst because you're going to spend 2 weeks doing this beautiful drawing. And then you're going to butcher it with these ugly black triangles. Now that's just going to be a disaster. And it happens every year, and it breaks my heart because you worked so hard on these lines, you used those set square, T-square, and then you kill your project with these ugly blips. The reason why I'm asking you to do the narrow dimensions is because they're quick. The imperfections will be camouflaged. They're freehand. They will be somewhat camouflaged. It's much easier to draw similar triangles when they're so narrow than when it is to draw them that big, freehand. Okay? So this distance here, each one is about 3 millimeters, 2.5, like what we're learning today. That 3 millimeter distance is maximum. So don't do arrows that are overpowering and, you know, like really big. So I talk narrow, and many students, another bad example is I'm talking narrow, and I'm going to have lots of students who are thinking small. I'm talking narrow, not small. So dimensions that are marked like that are also going to be ugly. Dimensions that are not these ugly harpoons, these are absolutely deadly. But dimensions that are two lines like this, and then of course you're not making it symmetrical either. You're just slopping them together. So you're going to go like this. One big, one small, all over the map. So if your dimensions are going to be any of these things, if you have this, if you have your harpoons, if you have your big triangles, small triangles, you have just accomplished the nightmare. You've ruined your drawing. So people who are not here today, or who have skipped because they're studying for their test, and then of course they're not going to listen to recording, are going to give me these drawings. And the drawing will be scrapped, 20% is gone, and your portfolio piece is gone. This is a beautiful drawing to put in your portfolio if you get it all done correctly. Okay, so train your hand to start at this point, go up literally the thickness of the pencil lead, down, close, and if you have to fill it in, and then go the other side, and we're doing it freehand. If you have lettering, if you have little templates that have arrows, don't use them, they're too big. Part of this exercise is to learn it, to do it by hand, okay? All right, I think we have everything covered. Is there anything else that I have not covered for this exercise? We haven't done title block because just print nicely. We will learn the professional title block for the next project. Anything else? Yes? Yes, dashes are 3 millimeters apart. Anything else? Yes, David?
Certain space above the dimension line that we're...
Yeah, that's the beginning. We talked about 10 millimeters and 10. Oh, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad I asked. We haven't done the dimension. Oh, my goodness. Thank you. We haven't done the dimension. Please, the last but most important part of dimension is the actual dimension. We need to draw two light construction lines. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be tacking points if you don't give me those two light construction lines. Guess how far apart they are. 3 millimeters. Now you're doing it by eye. Hey, you can use your lettering guide. If you have a string of dimensions, feel free to use your lettering guide for your 3 millimeter lines. This space is about 1 millimeter. That I'm not asking you to measure. Eyeball. What we don't want is dimensions that are sitting on dimension line. So what is no-no? The no-no is dimension that looks like this. 7, 5. That's what is deadly. What we want is two light construction lines. We eyeball where the center is, and we place our dimension straight, as clean, as clear as we can, right between these two, what we call guidelines. Dimensions that are horizontal are placed above the dimension line. Dimensions that are vertical are placed above, to the left. Remember, to the left. So if your title block is like this, the number is here, the space for the binding is here, all dimensions must be above and to the left. If you were taught in high school to place dimensions like this, that is mechanical way of doing dimensioning. Every profession has its standard. Architectural, construction, engineering drawings use above and to the left. And then the rest is just copying the dimensions that are given to you, okay? Anything else that we forgot? I think we're good. Thank you very much. Go and study, and good luck with your